Welcome. I'm Anthony, and I want to take a look at the FCC Spectrum Auction and how it affects consumers. I'm going to be focusing on the T-Mobile aspect of it, and I do want to disclose I am a T-Mobile customer, so I do have a little bit of beneficiary for this, but I do like that it's going to benefit everyone, and I'll explain why in a little bit. First off, why did the FCC have this auction? And they had this auction because there's many devices. We have phones, we have tablets, and we have a lot of other things connecting to the cellular network. And we just were running a lot of things out of just a certain amount of space. And this is basically taking some of the TV provider stuff, and they were selling it basically to the wireless providers. And anyone that's going to use the spectrum was able to bid on it. And T-Mobile walked away with about 45%. One of the reasons why I'm focusing on them today in this talk. The other big winners were US Cellular, which I think was a great win for them because this really beefs up their network, and I haven't seen where they won all their licenses yet, but if I was them, and they're probably thinking the same thing, they wanted certain areas to get beefed up because this low band spectrum in this auction goes longer and further than a spectrum that was already previously sold. So this is like, you say you want beachfront property, right? As John Ledger said, this is beachfront spectrum, and this is the stuff you really like because this is the stuff that is worth a lot and does a lot. So I'm really happy for US Cellular that came out with this. I'm an advocate, as you've probably found out, about making sure consumers have competition and they have the best options, and you are able to choose your best option. So if you're in the US Cellular area, I am, but I travel outside of it quite a bit, so it doesn't work well for me. But if you're in it and you stay in it most of the time, I would recommend taking a serious look at it because it's going to get better. Now, you won't get it right away, but I'll explain that in a little bit as well. The other big winner was Dish and Comcast. And if anyone knows why they were in the auction so much and what they're going to do with it, I would be very pleased to know. Please send me an email, leave me a comment. I am more than excited to see what they have in store. As I know, Comcast was starting to go and create an agreement with Verizon for having their own service that didn't piggyback on Verizon. So I'm very interested, especially, and I'm very interested in the Dish part too, because I know that they bought some other spectrum, but they haven't done anything with it. It's interesting to me because, hey, another option's another option, and I'm willing to evaluate it. So with that, let's dive into the T-Mobile part of it. And John Ledger basically came out with a T-Mobile statement, saying how excited they were for it. And I agree, this is exciting. And he did mention that this isn't just great if we're just T-Mobile customers. He said this is great for all cell phone customers. And I actually agree with that statement as well. And the reason why is that this has an opportunity now to go into areas where you necessarily didn't have an option anymore, and T-Mobile now can be a competitive option to whatever option you had. And this creates competition. As you see with the map, that T-Mobile has an immense amount of coverage now, according to the 600 megahertz block that was just for sale here, which is the low spectrum band from this auction. And it's really exciting to be able to take this and say, hey, it's basically coverage of the whole United States and Puerto Rico. By the way, if T-Mobile does not have a coverage in your area after they get all these licenses through, which will take time to finally deploy, it's on T-Mobile. It isn't on the consumer anymore. It's on T-Mobile. And T-Mobile, in my opinion, needs to do their best to make sure that they are standing up and holding up their end of the bargain and supporting consumers in areas where they have the spectrum, and I hope that they follow through on that. So that's the exciting part. Also, the exciting part is that they said that they were going to have a lot of this, or start deploying this at the end of this year. So they're going to have a better coverage map, which I will show you here, the coverage maps between T-Mobile right now, Verizon, AT&T, and Sprint, and then I'm going to show you here what T-Mobile is going to have at the end of the year. Now, I don't know if this map includes any of the 600 megahertz at all. However, if it doesn't, it means that you're going to have 600 megahertz and maybe in some of these areas that they're going to be able to receive and deploy in that amount of time. And I think that that's incredibly fast. I think it's very efficient that they were able to do it right away. And it kind of gives credence that they are actually going to hold up and try to deploy and put their spectrum wherever they have, or put their towers wherever they have spectrum. And that's what's exciting to me, is that then I can finally get service up with my parents without having to go in AT&T roaming and then drop phone calls as soon as I go into my parents' house. You know, they live in an area where it's not warm in the wintertime. And so I'd rather be warm inside the house than out having to sit outside of it. So there's those benefits to this. And as you know, I don't want to buy the local provider either just to go up to my parents. This is going to be a benefit. I really hope T-Mobile goes through on it. I'm excited to see what they do. One downside is going to be how fast it rolls out, right? It's not here today. And so it's going to take time. It takes time to get the licenses all through. The TV providers sell what they need to, TV providers to give up and transfer over that spectrum to T-Mobile or any other carrier or company that bought it. And then T-Mobile has to put a tower up and make sure that they light up all their spectrum on their towers. So that's a sticking point. Also, another sticking point is a new phone. No current modems that I know of. If I'm missing anything, please leave a comment below. I appreciate that. And I will put that in the description with a little asterisk there of what I missed. But I don't think any modems are currently out today. And I hear that later this year there will be some phones, but that means a new phone. I'm willing to upgrade my phone because it is that important to me in areas that I go. So I'm excited for that. Some other people might not be excited. Hopefully there's some trade-offs here that we can, come to terms with or whatever for T-Mobile. But overall, I think this is a great win for consumers. I think if you're an AT&T customer, you're going to have a benefit of maybe having another carrier in your area that you didn't have before, or a great coverage that you can compete with in coverage. If you're the same with Verizon now in their areas where you may not necessarily have another provider, they have this. Sprint, if there's any areas out there that they don't have, that T-Mobile or another carrier doesn't overlap. Any local carriers, I think that this benefits consumers where then now in those areas, not only you might not switch, but you might be all of a sudden getting better speed from your carrier. And I think that those little nuances to how a competition is created benefits consumers, so then that, like me, you can also go through and choose what is best for you and what you want to accomplish with each device. So I want to thank you for stopping by, Gray Overload. Thanks for watching Gray Overload. If you like this content, be sure to subscribe and don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Gray Overload.